Abandonware. You've more than likely heard this term before. However, I would wager many, if not most of you, have no idea what it even means. It is quite a simple concept, actually. The definition provided by the Cambridge Dictionary is software that is no longer produced or supported by the company that originally made it. Most of you can already guess why this might be relevant to the world of video games. Gaming as an industry has a terrible habit of being utterly and completely incompetent and/or unwilling to preserve its own history, as proven over and over again. What does this mean? Well, in a world that is increasingly digital only, when a game stops being available to download through legitimate means, or never was to begin with, the moment a company decides to cease production or stop hosting that game on digital storefronts, it can be lost to time forever. To me, this is the single greatest tragedy that can befall art of any medium. So without further ado, join me as I scour the Abandonware vault for some of these long-lost games. A World in Flames. There is a name in this industry that for many of us who grew up in the golden age of the 2000s will instantly summon forth a feeling of great love and nostalgia. That name is Pandemic Studios. They were responsible in their heyday for some of the most beloved games of that decade, from both classic Battlefront games to the well-liked Destroy All Humans series, to a few smaller hits like The Saboteur. Pandemic, as many of you may know, was acquired by EA and killed, which is what EA has always done best, killing good studios, that is. However, before they suffered their sad fate, they managed to put out a specific game which I will be digging up from the Vault of Time and discussing. A game that we can now officially consider abandonware. That game is Mercenaries 2: World in Flames. The Mercenaries series was never the biggest IP, nor were they incredible bestsellers, but these games had a very specific charm to them. And the second one, at least compared to its genre competition, offered a few elements that were quite unique. You see, Mercenaries 2 was a third-person open-world game, similar in a lot of ways to GTA and other contemporaries like Just Cause. It dropped you in a fictional recreation of Venezuela and tasked you with overthrowing an evil dictatorial president and his lackeys. You were, however, given a choice of 3 different playable protagonists, all returning from the previous game in the series. Jennifer Mui, Christopher Jacobs, and of course the correct choice, Matthias Nilsson. Why is he the correct choice? Well, surprisingly, he is voiced by Peter Stormare. Now, anyone who, like me, was a fan of Prison Break growing up, will never turn their nose up at the chance to hear Peter Stormare scream stupid one-liners and obscenities for the duration of a game.
Why would someone sit on a baby?
Again, the game in its basic description, especially to a modern audience, fatigued by thousands of boring copy-and-paste Ubisoft-style open worlds, probably sounds incredibly generic, right? Well, see, that's where the main selling point comes in. I like watching the world burn. Yup, this game from 2009, which released on the PS2 as well as the 360 and PS3, offered the complete destruction of any structure you could come across if you had munitions or artillery large enough to do the job. I consider myself a little bit of an anarchist, maybe a firebug too. I'll tell you what, this game scratched and still scratches an itch that very few games to this day manage to. The ability to drop airstrikes and even nukes anywhere on this open world map stuck in my mind since the first time I picked this game up on the old PS3. It solidified it as its own thing to me. Because frankly, not only did no other games offer something similar in this genre, I don't even know how they could have. This stuff was like magic at the time. It took what should have by all rights been a simple, generic open world game with serviceable shooting and driving mechanics, terrible flying ones though, and offered you a playground that you could literally burn down to the ashes. There was nowhere enemies could hide, no obstacle that could stand in your way. If you found the fuel and the munitions, you could blow anything up sky high. I know what you're thinking. You've seen this gimmick more often in modern games nowadays, but you have to understand how revolutionary and fun this was when damn near nobody had ever seen destruction akin to this in the average gaming landscape. Before you open your mouth, I know about Red Faction, but Guerrilla came out in the same year, so this type of, at the time, modern-gen destruction was still incredibly novel for both titles. The Ashes. Look, I'm not gonna pretend that there was much more to this game than that. The driving was kinda bad. It was an era where games hadn't quite figured out how to make it feel both heavy and fun, so the cars control like they have that one massive safe from that stupid Fast and Furious film strapped to their ass. Meaning, not well. The gunplay is also weird. You can't aim down sights, and there is something similar to Bloom when you shoot, where your bullets and rockets never quite go straight to the point you're aiming at. Also, no way to aim down sights except if you crouch, which will slightly zoom your screen in and seemingly improve accuracy. The story is nothing to write home about either. You take a contract for obvious evil dictator to be President Ramon Solano. He doesn't pay you, you get shot in the ass. No, that's not a joke, they recorded a whole song for the game about it.
First you try to trap me, then you bust a cap in my ass. Oh no, you didn't!
Of course, you vow revenge and go about dismantling Solano's government and setting Venezuela on fire as you progress through the game, while building a ragtag team of little mercenaries to help. There's even quite dreadful escort missions throughout, which were just not that fun overall. So like I said, not the best game ever. But you really have to understand, there's just a genuine sense of fun in there. Behind all the bad or mediocre stuff, I had some of the most naturally cool moments happen while I was playing as a result of that destruction system. Hell, I couldn't help but grin like a dumbass during certain of these moments that you're seeing on screen. Gone, but not forgotten. Of course, you know what video you're watching, so let's cover the worst part of this entire story. On August 2nd, 2021, EA removed the PC port from their Origin store and never added anywhere else digitally again. Meaning the only way to play the game legitimately now is to buy a physical copy. A copy that must of course be pre-owned since games cease production of physical copies when sales stagnate. Either way, not like any of the money you would blow if you could get the game legitimately is going to the devs who worked hard on making a surprisingly fun game for its time. Since, you know, EA fired them all and dissolved the studio. Yeah. I also personally wanted to start this series on my channel with this game because I wanted to highlight to you all how recent a release can become abandonware when the greedy corporations in charge decide it's not worth the effort of making it available anymore. This is a game from 2009. That's still not that far back. It's not even a retro title, and yet it is now another in a growing pile of games that have been failed by their IP holders and sent into the void. So what's the point of the video then? If there's no legitimate way to get it, is all hope lost? Is this another piece of media eradicated by greed and time, doomed to slowly fade away from our collective consciousness? Well, no. You see, when something becomes abandonware, you should feel justified in getting your hands on the game by any means necessary. Wink, wink. Since clearly the corporation who owns the rights doesn't give a crap anymore, neither should you. There are a number of sites whose sole purpose is to archive abandonware software, so if after watching this little showcase you feel like trying the game out yourself, give it a quick Google and life will, find a way. Those of you who'd prefer some more exact instructions, feel free to join my Discord where I will be creating a channel that showcases exactly where to get and how to install the games I talk about on this series. Don't let the history of this medium be buried and forgotten just because greedy corporations don't care enough to preserve their own damn products. If you want to experience these games, they don't have to be lost to time forever. We can make sure that they are remembered. Hello there! Sorry I've been gone for a bit, but I am currently surviving a heatwave here in the UK, and I for one don't like sitting in my chair in a boiling room sweating my ass off in weather and humidity this high. So I've been outside enjoying life and all the things that come with it. However, I have not forgotten you little guys. I have a few more projects currently in the works, and hopefully the next few should come out with less of a gap between uploads. Nevertheless, I have wanted to talk about Abandonware for a very long time, as some of you early to the channel may remember. Since the first upload, in fact. And I really am glad to finally be covering some of these games. I hope you are as well, and I'll see you on the next video, really. Have a good one.
So now it's over for